Welcome to Focus on Germantown. I'm Mayor Mike Palazzolo. It's my privilege to be your mayor and to have guests on our show. This morning we have Superintendent of Germantown Municipal Schools, Mr. Jason Manuel. Welcome to Focus on Germantown. We're excited to be in your new school.
Thank you for coming and visiting us.
We have a beautiful view of outside. We're in the library, the hub of learning here at Forest Hill Elementary School, home of the Foxes.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the vision to create this school. It finished on time and on budget, I believe,
Yes.
which is also another big accomplishment. But tell us a little bit about all that went into planning the school.
Well, this has been a dream that we've had since we really were born as a district. We knew that we didn't have the capacity to serve all the students in the city of Germantown. So, we were serving students with modulars at Dogwood and Farmington and Riverdale. And our board decided that's not the way that we wanted to educate children. So we started this long process of really choosing the perfect spot for this school. And you can see the huge oak tree out back here, the library. And then also we went through a detailed zoning process to determine what students were going to come to this school. And then the design. And we talk about what makes us different from other school systems. We really wanted to let the people design the building who are going to use the building. And so we really went through a long process bringing in teachers and parents, administrators, children to talk about what were their dreams and what could we put in a school. So,
and this one is absolutely gorgeous. What impresses me, the modern architecture, but a lot of light, a lot of daylight. In a learning environment, I spent 3 years in the classroom. It just seems to be more inviting when you have more natural light. Talk a little bit about that strategically, why that's important.
Well, we talk about, like you said, thinking from the view of the learner and how are they going to experience their day, and especially during the winter time. Because of our hours, it's sad when children come to school and it's dark outside, and they could be leaving when it's dark outside too if they have an after-school activity. We didn't want them to experience that. We wanted them to feel connected to the environment because it really affects their emotions and how they feel about learning.
Well, and so talk a little bit about the size of this campus, how many students,
Sure.
Those type things, so that the community gets a little bit better feel for what Forest Hill Elementary is about.
So it really is about 110,000 square feet. It's built for over 815 students. It could accommodate more than that, but that's what we think is the perfect number for students here. It opened with 550 because we really have designed this school to accommodate the growth for the city of Germantown. So as Germantown grows, so can Forest Hill. It is an incredible facility because not just the classrooms that it has, it's able to educate students into the future. We have special spaces for all of the students. So when those things that we learned from our parents and our students and our teachers was the need for communal space. We have activity rooms, we have STEM labs. We really have meeting spaces for all those different types of activities that are really going to educate students moving forward in the future.
Well, speak to the 21st century classroom, because some of us that are a little longer in the tooth, we were used to chairs that were individual and they were stacked in
Yes.
a row, and the teacher was in the front. Maybe some of us remember Charlie Brown's teacher speaking to you, but the modern 21st century classroom, it's a different feel. We had the opportunity to take a tour
Yes.
Recently, and so just expand a little bit on that.
Well, I think learning has changed and education has changed. When we were in school, we were still under the factory model. It was about teaching people how to be good factory workers, and that's not the case anymore. You were sitting in rows, you had times, and it was about meeting quotas. But now if you think about the way people work in the workspace, it's all group activity. And so all of our classrooms are designed so depending on what they're doing that day, all the furniture is movable. So they can have large groups, they can have small groups. If they wanted to, they could do the rows of students just like we sat in if they wanted a lecture format. But know that they've got the ability to be flexible. So they can design activities where the students learn in groups and learn from each other.
Well, and it didn't dawn on me that for the teachers and for their aides and for the room parents and that type of thing, spacing and storage is real important. I was very impressed with the amount of storage in these classrooms, and it's kind of strategic.
Yes.
And some of the areas almost look like little study nooks and those type things. How important is that for our teachers?
It was huge. Behind those activity rooms, those activity spaces that we identified, teachers really talked about storage, storage, storage. You can't have enough storage. And so typically in the old classrooms that we would have, you'd see one big metal cabinet. that wasn't deep enough to hold everything the teacher needed. We have 2 of the huge cabinets in each of our classrooms and also storage for the students. So around the floorboards in every classroom, there's over 16 bookshelves that the teachers can use, the students can use, and they're movable, so they can change the location of where they are in their classroom depending on the design.
Well, you spoke earlier a little bit about modulars and portables and growth and enrollment. So we're under capacity at this elementary school. So with the opening of this elementary school, what has it done to our 3 other elementary schools? And not talking about the district configuration, but how are we on classroom sizes, enrollment, and crowding, so to speak?
Well, I think people get confused with crowding versus number of students with the teachers. So we always hear, oh, there are so many kids in each classroom. That's not what happens when we experience crowding. We hire staff to really serve those students. It's the space where those teachers are going to teach those students. So we always hit the state grade bands when we're looking at a 1:20 or 1:25 or 1:30 ratio when we're talking about our students. But what happens is we start moving into spaces that weren't really designed to be taught out of. So we may have maps like the music or the art that are on carts having to rotate into classrooms instead of having their own dedicated spaces. This has allowed all of our schools to return to the right size for what they were designed for. And they have room to grow in those schools too. So when we're looking at our capacities at each school, for Farmington, for example, Farmington was over 800 students last year. They're just at 600 this year. We're looking at Dogwood is sitting just over 850 students, and last year, they were close to 9. So we really have reduced those numbers of students at each of our schools. Riverdale, they were sitting at 1,400 students in the whole K through 8, and they're sitting at about 1,200 students. So a dramatic change in all the schools. You can feel it.
Well, and we always get questions about portables and modulars, and so y'all kept some of them, but for different purposes opposed to classroom instruction. Is that correct?
So we did keep some, and our board decided to keep them one more year just to see how the growth. But the teachers and the people in the schools decided the new units that we bought, not the old ones that were really like trailers, are really a nice product. They have their own bathrooms inside. They're really a nice unit. So we actually had requests to keep those at some of the schools so that they could have some of the supplementals. So speech services, occupational therapy, physical therapy, or if they wanted to do music out of those, they really wanted to keep those, just those extra spaces. So we kept them for one more year.
Well, that's good. I mean, and if it meets the need, and those modulars, like you said, they are very modern opposed to the old barrack style.
That's right, the old trailer.
Well, here on this campus, there's also other excitement because you've had a great home at Carrefour at Kirby, and now you have kind of in, I guess, the classic American family, you've moved to being a renter to now you're a homeowner, so to speak. So there's a district office being constructed on this campus, and it was not needed to be open to coincide with the school year. But tell us a little bit about how that's progressing and when it may be open.
So we did have a central office at Carrefour, and we were very thankful for that space there, and we're really grateful to our landlords. It's been a great place for us as a district. But like you said, we're moving from leasing to actually owning a property, and we think it's more efficient for us, and it's close to all of our schools. So it was designed, new central office right behind us here. It's out the window here. It was designed to open a month and a half after the new elementary school did, because we don't have the urgency to get in here.
And you've operated a lean and efficient organization, but you have room to grow there. You'll be able to have all your district employees there.
So all of our district employees will be able to be housed there, but also we have a common space. Once again, we talked about all of our schools are designed to serve the greater community, not just our schools. So if you look at what we do in our gym space with Parks and Rec, we allow Germantown Basketball League to come in and use those facilities. We also have a large boardroom here too. And we have a kitchenette that's attached to it too. So we talk about those areas in the city where people could have events and have meetings. Our boardroom is designed that we could do that too. So it's got a boardroom there that we can meet with a stage area there. So
and is that where your council meetings,
yes,
your
that's
board
where our council meetings
will
will move to.
Okay.
But will be open to the public, that they can rent those spaces also and use them.
Well, that'd be
for
great,
their
because
meetings.
we have a lot of meetings just down the street at the Forest Hill Fire Station.
Yes.
Because there's significant meeting space in the back there. So
yes. So now you have a good meeting space that everyone can use. So
nice. Well, let's talk a little bit about, since we're talking about construction and those type of things, let's talk about your capital needs. I know that the city put aside $5 million for an expansion at Houston Middle School. So please share with us timetable and maybe when the expectations would be for maybe breaking ground there.
Well, I always say thank you, thank you, thank you.
great
we
partners.
really saw a huge difference when we became Germantown Schools because we had all this deferred maintenance and all these needs from the beginning of the district. And our partnership, our city, has really provided those, the funding for us to really become right-sized and then also move into the 21st century. So one of those things that we identified was Houston Middle School addition because our middle school grade bands are growing. And so we are starting that process they're in the design phase right now, getting ready to move to schematic. So we are probably looking at about a 4-month window here where we're doing all the design work for that facility and then going through all the commissions at the city, planning, design review. So we'll go through all those commissions. And then we're hoping that even before the summer, we'll break ground on that area, that addition beside
that's
Houston
exciting.
Middle School.
Well, you know, I can remember it was just one short year ago when we broke ground here, and it was a hot August day, and a lot of speeches being made. And when I spoke, I did mention that we were going to be as helpful as possible with condensing your deferred maintenance and capital needs from a large, perhaps 10 to 15-year window
Yes.
to 5 years so that you wouldn't have to have reliance on funding from the Shelby County Commission.
Yes.
And because oftentimes you have to wait for that funding. And
That's right.
It trails differently. And with a partnership at the city, we can help with that, bridge that gap. And so we've done things at Riverdale and other things. I know even though we have this brand new school, some of your other schools have gotten some, not facelifts, but some much needed tender loving care on the
Yes.
inside. Maybe share some of those items.
Sure. So everybody except Houston Middle School, and like we just talked about, they're about to have their huge project, but every school this summer had large projects and renovations. And like you said, we inherited $26 million in deferred maintenance that we have really tackled all those issues on that deferred maintenance list. Now, deferred maintenance doesn't go away. You always have roofs, you always have HVAC that are going to come up again, but with our partnership, the city really has funded that initial large group of projects. So an example would be at Riverdale. We had a boiler chiller project there, and it's an old system that's running hot water through to heat the school. And it really was difficult for students because you know, the weather in Memphis, in the spring, we have days where one day it's in the upper 80s and the next day it's down to, 40 degrees.
Sure.
It was really a struggle for students in the classroom because we can't turn on and off a boiler chiller system. It takes a week to do that. So in those classrooms on those warm days, it would be upwards of 80 degrees in that classroom, and that's not a good learning environment. So we did a massive project there, over $3 million for that project, where we ripped out the boiler chiller system. And that means you're taking out all the pipes in the ceiling and redoing the whole infrastructure. And we added new LED lights. We added new wireless ports that go throughout that system and HVAC units on for each classroom. So now the teachers can control the units there. A tremendous project that makes the school almost like a new school because it's everything above ceiling is brand new.
Well, Riverdale's maybe close to 50 years old.
Yes.
Farmington is approaching that age. Dogwood is a newer of the
Yes.
elementary schools, but as you mentioned, they were all built in a different era.
That's
and
right.
Now we are coming close to modernizing all of those.
That's right. So we're really close. So you mentioned Dogwood and Farmington. They had bathroom renovations. So we invested over $1 million into those bathrooms at those schools. So we've completely gutted those and put in brand new bathrooms for the students, and it's been a tremendous change at those schools. At Farmington, we also changed some old bathrooms. It used to be a K-8 school where they had, I don't know if you remember the show The White Shadow, where they would sing in the bathrooms.
Yeah.
They had those type of shower stalls at Farmington,
Yeah.
and no one was using that communal shower space in an elementary school. So we actually gutted those bathrooms out and turned them into learning spaces for students. So they're actually smaller classrooms now at those schools. But yes, we had some old holdovers from years past.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, Superintendent, we cannot be more pleased with our relationship, our partnership. I like to tell people in our community, people move to a city or a region for two primary reasons, and it's generally public safety and public education. And our city has a great emphasis on both, whether it be police, fire, ambulance. And some people don't consider public works as first responders, but they are, and we're very proud of all those groupings. And then public education. And case in point, I've run into families that have moved here 2 and 3 years ago, waiting on this school to open, that had children that were in the 2, 3, 4, and 5-year-old range. And so we are seeing that come to roost here in our city, where people really value public education. So we're thankful. Any concluding things you want to share with us about the school year? I know it just kicked off. It's always exciting for a new school year and lots of neat things happening.
I think for us, it's just we are excited about the future because we have now set the groundwork for all of our students. We provided the optimal learning environment for them, and we can't wait to see what they achieve.
Well, it's been 6 years. 6 years ago, who would have thought we'd have gotten this far? We're really proud of Germantown Municipal School District, and we can't say enough thank yous for all your great work. Focus on Germantown will have a new host or co-host. Vice Mayor Mary Ann Gibson will be doing segments, and I think her first one may be situated around our Bobby Lanier Farm Park. So stay tuned for that, and thank you for joining Focus on Germantown. We'll see you next time.